Welcome to another episode of Low Budget Shooting. What we're going to be working on here is a really cool piece. I've always wanted one of these, but this was in a fire. One of my customers who gave me a Remington 1100 that I put a video up not too long ago that I restored from the fire. They gave me the gun as a joke, and when I restored it, they ended up wanting to buy the gun. So now they've got some other ones, and this is one of them, and this is kind of a cool piece of history. So I did not realize this, but you know, everybody knows the UZI was made by UZI doll, I believe it was, in the 50s, like 54 or 57, and they were made by the Israeli army, by IMI. And he ended up coming to the United States in the early 70s, and he got a job at a place called Action Arms. And the owner of Action Arms thought it'd be cool to make a semi-automatic UZI, and he asked Dahl, UZI, if he wanted to do that. So UZI still had connections, I guess, in with IWI, and he he had them make it, and they made these things over at IMI, and Action Arms was the one who imported them. And so this went on, and you can see right here it says Action Arms. I don't know if you can read that. Action Arms from Pennsylvania. These things were made from 1980 to 1989. The import ban stopped them from being done, and then some aftermarket companies started making them here in the U.S. because they were legal to make in the U.S., but they were never the quality of this. I mean, he's got the collapsible stocks with it. So there was two versions of it. There was a Model A, and the Model A had a problem with the firing pin could actually fire out of battery. So they ended up putting in this little mechanism that's right here that moves up and down, and it stops the firing pin from coming out and causing an out of battery fire. And then they made some difference. They made some changes to the sights. These are the Model B sights. The Model A sights were a little bit different. There's a little eccentric, and you can actually move your windage and elevation with it. They just made this to where it does the elevation. It's supposed to have a 16-inch barrel on it. The barrel is missing on this gun, so I got to find that. Every one of the springs that are on here are just completely shot. So this is the spring for the firing pin, but watch this now. When I go to pull the spring out, it just stays out. The heat just completely ruined the temper on it. This is the bolt spring, and when you push the bolt spring or collapse it, it doesn't go all the way back. You can see there's a gap here on the end of it, so I gotta replace that. And then the dust cover spring, same thing. It just no spring left to it. All the trigger springs, the safety in the back. So I got to get that. The parts are available. They made 72,000 of these things before they went out of business, and we'll see where we go from here. So first thing I'm doing is going to take the whole entire gun apart. I'm going to put it into the ultrasonic cleaner, and then I'm going to boil it to get all the rust and everything off of it, and then we're going to end up refinishing it just like it was done in the old days, and hopefully I can get all the parts for them. So stay tuned. Okay, so here we are on the UZI project. What I'm doing right now is boiling this part. One of the things for rust to do is to boil your parts if they're really rusted, and it helps break it loose and get it off, and then you can just put it on a carding wheel. One of the other things that you'll notice too is that it's important to get all of the oil and everything off it. I don't know if you can see it in here swirling around, but there is a little oil slick from the parts seeping the oil that is boiling off. And it's important to get rid of all of this, because if you go to blue it, or in my instance I'm using a Duracoat right here. These are two parts that I've already completed for the gun. The Duracoat is like almost like silver coat. You spray it on and then you bake it in this old 1950 oven that I've got here in the basement, so that my wife doesn't get upset for me using the oven in the kitchen. Anyways, the paint won't adhere if there's any oil whatsoever, and the same thing with the bluing, it won't adhere either. So what I'm going to do after I get it out of this pan, I'm going to put it in the sink and rinse off the part, and then I'm going to put it in some fresh water and just run the sink faucet into it to let it trickle over the edge of the pan just a little bit, so that all of this oil will run off and there will be none on the part. So that's where we're at so far. Okay, so now we've got the part off of the stove, and for about an hour now I'm just going to let this water trickle in here, and it's running off the edges right here, and that will get all of the oil slick out. I dumped the water out, and you just want to run it until I don't even see any on here right now looking at the top of the water, so it looks pretty good. So we're just going to let that do that for about an hour, and then I'll show you guys how you can tell if the part is clean and ready to go. Okay, so here's what we got. Bang. So as you can see, the water, see how the water's on the side of it? This is how you tell if you've got it really degreased. And now this is just the first stage of it that we did, and I did this, boiled it in a pot with TSP. But what I want to show you is, like, the way to find out whether or not you got all of it off is when you put water on here. What should happen is, so see, I got water all over it. When I turn the water off, you see right away how it started beading up right there, how it just came right off. That tells me that there's more oil on it. The water should stick to it like this all the way across, but as you can see in the back there, it just went on. So I know that I got a lot of oil there, and I know that for a fact because I actually had a spray oil on there in order to get the rear sight mechanism taken apart. Okay, so now what I've done is I've washed it off with soap and water, and then I dried it off, and then I took it to my carding wheel and I've carded it to get all the crusty stuff off, and then I took a wire brush that I've got to run it inside of it to get all that out also, and then I ran it under some water, and I still had a problem with running clean, so I had to use the TCE cleaner degreaser, and whenever you use it, always use gloves because that stuff's not good. And so now when I take the water and put the water on it, see how it sticks? Right now it just stays on it. It's just sheeted on it. So she's ready to take a paint now, and so that's going to be the next step on it. So the next thing is with it is Duracoat has a two-step process. One of them is basically another degreaser that you would use for this, that you just spray on it, and then next you use the paint. So I'm just going to spray this degreaser on it, and you just let this air dry off of it. After you're done, you spray the whole entire thing down, and I go pretty liberal with it. Gloves get slippery with this. It says it's a degreaser. I'm wondering if it's not an activator too, but and that will air dry pretty quick. I wear gloves with this also because there is no telling as to whether or not that is good for your hands or not. My guess is it's not. Just pulled it out of the oven. So basically you spray this on, and then you bake it in the oven at 315 degrees for 15 minutes. I'm not touching it right now because it's super hot, but it looks great. You can see the paint's all smooth. If you wouldn't have had this prepped properly, there would be like these bubbles, like air bubbles, and unfortunately the only thing to do is I've found in most instances I've had to repaint it if that happens, because I've tried to sand them off, you know, and then paint over them, but you can see the difference. But that looks really good. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. All right, I have the completed UZI. This was a fun project to work on,
I'm about to test it. Everything on it seems to work good as far as I haven't shot any rounds through it. This is the first chance to do it, so we're just going to load a magazine and get right to it. The stock, the one thing I don't like about the stock, you got to really put it up in your shoulder to look down in it and get a cheek weld, because if you push it here, it wants to fold. Now that could be because this spring is worn out in there and I was not able to remove it. But let's see how it works. Let's see if it charges around. Oh, that didn't look good. Try it again. I don't know if I'd call that a charged round. This is the fun part about I don't know. That does not look like it's all the way chambered. That looks all the way chambered. Alright, like I said, this was first shots after out of a burned gun. Let's see how it works. I don't even know if it's going to hit steel, but there goes that stock. See what happens. Oh, it's shooting. That's cool. Nope. It's got a really hard trigger. Hold on a minute. Okay, that was not cool. Let's see what happens here. That was not cool. Alright, we got something going on delayed with the trigger. Yeah, that's not a safe gun. Let's see if it's reloaded. Okay. So we got a really sticky firing mechanism. It's not going all the way in the battery. That time it clicked. So we got to go back to the drawing board. How accurate this is. Let's just see if we can hit a bottle. Get the pin. Okay. See, that's it. It doesn't lock back. It's a closed bolt gun. So that was the problem. It just needed some lubrication. This gun is ready to go to my customer. What a cool piece of history, and what a cool firearm actually shooting a UZI that was made by IMI in Israel. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe.